Let's now shift our focus to Germany. In the financial capital and the biggest airport in the country, the Frankfurt airport has axed at least 90 flights due to a massive storm. Flooding, flight cancellations, reroutings have wrapped the financial capital in a mess. Reports say the fire service has now launched over 500 operations, but that's not all. The foreign minister also was not able to fly for her Indo-Pacific trip. Her plane seems to have broken down. What really is happening to the country known for its efficiency? Our next report telling you the complete story.
Is that a pond or an airport? Is that a plane or a boat? This is the condition of Frankfurt Airport. At least 90 flights cancelled, over 23 rerouted to other airports. Germany's biggest airport is scrambling to book passengers on new flights. The storm has swept over the southwest, and experts say it is dumping rainfall of up to 60 litres per square metre. Some passengers have been left to face the aftermath of the storm.
We didn't have a bus to take us to our aeroplane. We had to wait 3 hours, and then we were just abandoned after that. So no vouchers. I didn't have a hotel. I slept on a chair with other people, and I've been queuing for 3 hours with everybody else here. No water. There is no priority for elderly or families with children. It's disgraceful. I'm really, really shocked, and we are not getting great service at all.
The fire service says over 500 operations have been launched. But it still looks like the nation, known for its efficiency, is breaking down. This is what happened earlier. The Foreign Minister, Elena Baerbock, was scheduled to fly to Australia, New Zealand and Fiji in her government plane. But she had to abandon the trip. Why? Because of a problem with her government plane. The minister set off from Berlin on what was supposed to be a nearly week-long trip. She was scheduled to arrive in Canberra on Monday night. But a mechanical problem with her aging aircraft's landing flaps meant that it had to turn back to Abu Dhabi after a refueling stop there. The aircraft took off again for Australia after a test flight was conducted. But the technical problem resurfaced shortly after takeoff, and the plane had to return to the Emirati capital again. Germany may enjoy a good reputation, but the nation's aircraft reputation is in continuous decline. In 2018, former Chancellor Angela Merkel missed the opening of a G20 summit in Argentina because her Airbus plane broke down. Earlier the same year, Chancellor Olaf Scholz was stranded in Indonesia after rodents chewed up the cables of his plane. The most embarrassing part could be the way Baerbock had to cancel her trip. The foreign minister said, "We tried everything, but unfortunately it's logistically not possible to carry out my Indo-Pacific travel without the defective plane." A flooded airport runway, the foreign minister abandoning a trip because of issues with her aging aircraft. This is what a country known for its efficiency has been reduced to. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Is the Ukraine war extending dangerously into neighboring states? And will it explode in the Baltic states? Just have a look at what's happening. Latvia, a Baltic state, which is also a member of NATO, has just ordered reinforcements on its Belarus and Russian border. Belarus, as we already know, is a key Russian ally, and it has become an alternative site for Russian nuclear weapons. And the famous or infamous Wagner troops have now been sent there after their rebellion against Moscow. Already in a heightened state of alert, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia are also strengthening their border forces amid fears in the region that Putin might not stop at Ukraine. And tonight on Gravitas, we zoom into Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania and tell you why tensions are rising in the suddenly dangerous Baltics. All three Baltic states, by the way, won their independence from Russia after the crash of the Soviet Union. Could we now see the beginning of a new chapter in this conflict? Let's start off with Latvia, the country that borders Russia and Belarus. Latvia is scrambling its forces to the border as I speak. Their border guard officers have been recalled from their holidays to help with patrols. The move comes as a response to what is being described as hybrid threats facing the country. Just a quick backgrounder here. The reason why the Latvian government last week announced an enhanced security regime was because of a disproportionately large number of cases of illegal crossings in the area. Since the start of the year, the Latvian government has registered nearly 6,000 attempts to illegally cross the Belarusian border. Who is behind pushing people into Latvia is the immediate question. The Latvian authorities accused neighboring Belarus of being involved in organizing the flow of people across Latvia's borders. Many of these say they are asylum seekers and refugees. But then, who can be certain of anything in the confusion of war? And due to these hybrid threats, the Latvian armed forces and police have also been summoned to border duties. In fact, its defense minister has ordered the army to deploy additional forces to the border. Latvia shares a border of about 172 kilometers or 106 miles with Belarus. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, is a very close ally of the Russian leader Vladimir Putin, has been accused of playing a provocative game, in fact, with refugees from crisis-hit regions of the world, sending them across Latvia's border. Now, let's just look at Lithuania. The country will close 2 of its 6 border crossings with Belarus this week. This is being called a preventive measure aimed at controlling threats to national security, as well as possible provocation at the border. And the reason, by the way, is specific: the threat from Wagner mercenaries. Lithuanian media reports saying that the border closures could indicate complete closure of the border with Belarus in the future. Several media reports saying that Baltic countries as well as Poland are discussing the possibility of completely closing their borders with Belarus. According to the Lithuanian State Border Guard Services, around 4,500 Wagner mercenaries are currently stationed in Belarus. And the government of Lithuania is also buying the coveted German Leopard 2 tanks as part of a military build-up. Vilnius will buy as many as 54 Leopard 2s in order to bolster its ground forces with a new tank battalion that would be a part of a division-sized unit. Now, it's not clear just how quickly the new tanks could be delivered, but it is part of the cooperation between the NATO states in response to a direct military threat. Let's also look at another Baltic nation, Estonia. Border restrictions on the country's eastern borders with Russia has been increased. Estonia's defense needs are being met by a British fighting force deployed outside its borders, but exercising in Estonia often, and it is ready to come in at short notice if needed. Earlier this year, the NATO conducted a major military exercise here. It involved US troops, British Marines, French paratroopers across the Baltics and Europe. The NATO is reinforcing its defenses. The message from the NATO is clear. At short notice, NATO can deploy fast. Since the war started in February 2022, the bloc has added thousands of troops to its eastern flank. The US-led military alliance is also scaling up the deployments to the Baltic countries. Germany, Canada, Britain have battle groups, by the way, of about 1,000 troops in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania respectively, to act as a tripwire in case of a Russian attack. The reinforcements have been ramped up. On the other side of the confrontation, the Wagner Group has also started training Belarusian soldiers. Lukashenko believes his troops have a lot to learn from these Russian mercenaries. Last month, NATO adopted a new anti-Russia defense plan. This new defense plan has a special focus on Baltic nations. In what is being described as the most comprehensive defense plan since the end of the Cold War, NATO plans to enhance its deterrence measures. It will send additional forces to the Baltics and Eastern Europe. Battle groups comprising 1,000 soldiers are to support the national armies of the Baltic states and Poland. The UK will be responsible for Estonia, Canada for Latvia. Germany will also send a brigade of 4,000 soldiers to Lithuania, while America will be responsible for Poland. And according to an annual report published by Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service in February, Russia would consider Baltic states to be the most vulnerable part of NATO. They see the region, in fact, as a focal point of military pressure for Moscow in the eventuality of a NATO-Russia conflict. So in addition to boosting its border security, Latvia and Estonia are also planning to jointly procure Germany's Iris-T air defense system. The medium-range missile systems will, they say, bolster their capabilities. The Baltic states have also requested the forces deployed are beefed up to 3,000 to 5,000 troops in each state. They have also requested extra air defenses and asked that warplanes that patrol their airspace become a fighting force. Estonia and Latvia will also provide their respective air bases to receive and host allied fighters, command planes, and surveillance aircraft. A resurgent NATO is set to tighten its grip on the Baltic Sea. And the aim here is simple: complicating a vital transit route for Vladimir Putin's navy in Russia's backyard. After all, the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland, is home to Russia's Baltic fleet. The armed forces of all sides are battle-ready. Nerves are tense, to say the least. A single accident can create a conflagration. That is the last thing that the region and the world needs right now. On to India, where devotees making their way to a temple have been urged to carry a wooden stick. Why? To fight wild animals. This comes after a little girl was killed by a leopard. A range of other measures have been put in place. For example, pilgrims can only go in batches of 100 to visit the temple. Devotees have now been urged to carry a stick when they visit the Tirumala Tirupati Balaji Temple. Concerns over animal attacks were triggered following an attack on a 6-year-old girl. The girl was using a pathway to reach the temple, but she strayed from the path after she had a fight with her family. The girl's body was later found in some bushes, and investigators have said that she was attacked and killed by a leopard. The suspected leopard was trapped, but officials say that there were more wild animals in the area, which included more leopards and sloth bears. The temple authorities have introduced a few rules now. Pilgrims will need to travel in batches of 100, while a security guard accompanies them. To avoid attracting animals to the pathways, devotees' food stalls have also been urged not to litter food. Officials have specified that people should not feed monkeys as well. Some of the restrictions have resulted in some unhappy devotees, one of them saying, and I'm quoting, "We have come from such faraway places. If they don't allow children after 2 p.m., we will end up having to wait the whole night till 5 a.m. the next day." Authorities are also installing more high-tech security systems. Temple officials have said that 500 CCTV cameras are being installed along several pedestrian routes, and this will allow them to relax other rules, like the entry timings for children. Officials say, and I'm quoting, drone cameras will also be procured, animal trackers and doctors will also be made available round the clock. So if you are planning to visit the temple, you know what to do, and we will be tracking the latest developments. Let's now talk about China's missing minister. Where is Qin Gang? What happened to him? Is he dead or alive? The world has been asking these questions for over 2 months now. Yet the mystery remains unresolved. And all that we have is a host of speculation, various conjectures on his personal life, zesty rumors on his covert means of functioning and his allegedly corrupt practices. And they have permeated every discourse about his whereabouts. And why wouldn't they? I mean, he wasn't just any other person. He previously served as China's ambassador to the United States, and then he was appointed China's Minister for Foreign Affairs. Some, in fact, say that Xi Jinping personally picked him for the post. And then one fine day, he just disappears into thin air. He was last seen on the 25th of June, 17th of August now. 53 days later, no one knows where he is. So we at WION decided to seek some answers. We interviewed Terrell Jones, a political journalist who has extensively covered China and interviewed Qin Gang several times. We asked him about Gang's unceremonial disappearance and how common it is for Chinese ministers to go missing like this. Here's what he told us.
Well, it's certainly not unprecedented for senior Chinese officials to be purged or to be taken out of their positions. However, this particular case is especially unusual because the official Qin Gang was quite young, but had a very meteoric rise. He was promoted very quickly from the foreign ministry positions to ambassador to the US, which is obviously a crucial position in Chinese foreign policy. But after only 18 months in that job, promoted to foreign minister, head of the foreign ministry, makes it seem apparent that he was close to Xi Jinping, the president, and handpicked to be someone in a very prominent position in the future.
And we also asked Mr. Jones about whether the US-China rivalry had something to do with Qin Gang's disappearance, or whether it had to do something with his equation with the Chinese president, given how he personally picked him. Did things go sour between the two? Here's what he told us.
The U.S.-China relationship is one of extremely close partnership and one of extremely antagonistic competition. In Chinese leadership today, if you are for better relations with the United States, that can put you on a good track with some Chinese officials and leaders and not with other leaders. It's difficult to say, which side Qin was on, or could it be something more purely internal, such as many Chinese officials always worry, who is after my job, or who is a threat to me? And so he may have represented a threat to certain factions, or perhaps even the man who was his predecessor as foreign minister.
Now, here's the thing. The disappearance of the Chinese foreign minister may have generated a torrent of speculation, but there is nothing new about this. You see, the Chinese regime has always been opaque. It has a history of officials and public figures being sacked and then going missing mysteriously. Just take the case of Hu Jintao, Xi Jinping's predecessor as the General Secretary of the CCP, the most powerful position in China. At the closing ceremony of the 20th Party Congress in October 2022, Hu was led out of the Great Hall of the People in full view of the journalists. Now, the official explanation was that Hu had suffered from a sudden and brief spell of ill health. Many observers suspected that the real reason was political. And since then, Hu Jintao has only been seen once. Reports say he has been purged from the echelons of power. And then we have Jack Ma, one of China's most successful and well-known billionaires. In November 2020, he disappeared. Right before his disappearance, he had given a speech criticizing China's financial regulators. Interestingly, Ma resurfaced 3 months later, but he seemed subdued. And since then, he has kept a low profile. And there's more. Guo Guangchang, the chairman of Fosun International, a conglomerate that also owns a football club, by the way. He went missing in the year 2015. He was reportedly detained over a corruption investigation. And since then, he has not been seen in public that often. And by the way, it's not just politicians and business people who are at the risk of falling foul of the authorities. In July 2018, the megastar actor Fan Bingbing suddenly disappeared from social media and public appearances. This fueled rumors that she had fled China or was under house arrest. And she reappeared nearly a year later, having been fined about $96.2 million for tax evasion. So if we just go by these instances, Qin Gang is perhaps also being kept hidden deliberately. He is probably being subjected to some grilling by the Chinese authorities. Grilling over what exactly, we probably will never find out. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.